are listening to Three Kitchens, a member of the Alberta Podcast Network, locally grown, community supported. Join your hosts Erin Walker, Heather Dyer, and Sarah Sundaram. What's cooking, ladies?
This episode of Three Kitchens podcast is brought to you by Inventures, your front row seat to what's next. Register now for Inventures 2022, where you can learn, share, and be inspired by the startups, entrepreneurs, investors, and global thought leaders who are redefining the future.
Inventures runs June 1st to 3rd in Calgary and online, featuring more than 150 sessions, over 250 speakers, international keynotes, expert panels, startup pitch events, networking opportunities, and more.
Reserve your pass now at inventurescanada.com. That's INVENTURES Canada.com. Welcome to Three Kitchens. I'm Heather Dyer. I'm here with my friends, my co-hosts, Erin Walker.
Hello, Heather.
And
Hello.
Sarah said hello before I could even introduce her. That's Sarah Somasundaram over there.
Hello. Great pronunciation.
Yay! I was looking for the validation.
So I learned something new, and I thought it was really interesting. And if you guys already know this, then we'll just cut it and go right to Heather's bit. Or maybe somebody else out there in the universe also didn't know this. Mm-hmm. But I learned a little bit about maple trees and maple harvesting to get syrup. Mm-hmm. I listened to a podcast called Meat and Three on the Heritage Radio Network. And it's food news and storytelling. And so they kind of take a topic and then go into different avenues on it. And so recently they had one about maple syrup harvesting. And I didn't realize this, but it's actually done in the spring. Did you know this? I thought it was a fall activity.
Yeah, you often hear about it in the snow. So I wasn't sure if it was like winter or I guess spring there's still snow.
Yeah.
When you see photos of it or whatever, it's usually they look like they're tapping it when there's snow on the ground.
Yeah. And so I guess it's done in the spring after the maple trees have gone into hibernation. When it starts to heat up again in the spring, they tap into the maple trees and they get the syrup, which is actually the sap going from the roots up into the leaves, and that's what would feed the buds to start in the spring. So I didn't know that. For some reason, I always associated it with winter or fall. Yeah. Maybe because we use those flavors a lot in winter and fall too. I don't know. Anyway, it happens in the spring. Who knew?
Oh, I never even thought about it. However, when we prune our tree, we know not to do it in the spring. So I guess that makes sense because of the sap, right?
Yeah, tree pruning is usually takes place over the winter.
So I guess if you kind of think about it, it makes sense that the sap would be in the spring. But no, I never thought about it. That's good to know.
I thought it was really interesting. So they were talking about a big maple festival that they have down in Vermont.
Mm-hmm. Oh, when can we go?
Right?
I want to go.
It was like a month ago, so we're already late this year. So I think we should just book our tickets for next year.
Yes. Oh my God, that would be so fun.
It sounds like so much fun.
Even though I've always wanted to go to Vermont in the fall.
Right?
So, but this festival is in the spring, I guess?
This festival is in the spring. It just happened, I believe, in March or so.
Right.
I mean, it's different every year because thaw comes about at different times. But just some general stuff about maple syrup. Maple syrup was first used by Indigenous people in North America. And the maple trees are native to Canada and the United States. And so it was then adopted by the European settlers who came and then started figuring out better ways to harvest the syrup and increase production.
What, hanging a bucket on a tree with a spigot?
Well,
maybe that's not how they do it.
It's not how they do it anymore. So, you know what? I would say the photo that you think of when it comes to maple harvesting is the bucket on a tree.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But now they actually have... So in the 1970s, they started increasing output by actually running tubing and tapping tubing into the tree, and then it all flows down from, and it collects it in like a common area. So it's actually tubed out of the trees. Like
a tree
a
catheter.
tree catheter.
Oh, that sounds awful.
Even though we are a Canadian podcast, none of this happens really around where we are in Canada because
That's
we are
right.
such a big, wide country. 70% of the world's maple syrup comes from Quebec in Canada.
I heard there was a shortage this year. Did they talk about that?
So they were talking about a little bit to do with climate change making it more unpredictable.
Okay.
And so I guess the production of maple syrup or sap in these trees depends on them going into full dormancy. And then when they come out again, they start producing sap. And so if it doesn't get as cold or things like that, then it's more unpredictable, I believe.
That makes sense.
Because the trees are confused.
Aren't we all?
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
All of us creatures are confused.
Well, that is very interesting. And I would say the flavor, a maple flavor, ties in very nicely to what I'm going to be making for you.
Oh, yes, it is. That's right.
And I don't even know for sure if maple syrup would be in this recipe, but you'll know what I'm talking about in terms of the flavors are very compatible when I start talking.
Well, my tummy does because it's making noise and saying hello.
Gurgle, gurgle. So I had this thought that I want to make bacon jam because bacon jam is just a thing of delicious beauty.
Yes.
And especially on a burger in my mind. So I used to buy it like a condiment to put on burgers at the store. I think I bought like the PC brand at Superstore, but I hadn't bought it in a long time and I kind of forgotten about it. And then for some reason, I don't even know why, it occurred to me that I hadn't bought it in a while. And then I was like, why don't I just make it? Why am I buying this? I'm pretty sure you can just make it. So if you've never had it.
I have never had it.
Okay.
So
I've never had it
this is
either.
blowing my mind. Please tell us.
Picture it. I was almost going to say like the Golden Girls thing. Picture it. Sicily, 1935.
Yeah, that's right. So, Sophia.
No. Okay, picture bacon, nice smoky, crispy bacon, and caramelized onions. Put them together.
Okay.
Gooey, sticky, sweet, salty. That's why I'm thinking maple fits right in with these flavors. So perhaps sometimes these recipes have whiskey or bourbon with the maple bacon onion business. So I haven't exactly picked a recipe, but there's many options and I just have to. This sometimes is the hardest part of this is just picking which route to go with it.
Yeah.
Because there's so many different ways you could make something.
And they all sound good. Speaking of both the things that you guys spoke about, one of my favorite donuts is donuts with maple glaze and bacon on it.
Yeah.
Maple cream, actually. Maple cream with bacon on it. Oh.
And I saw a recipe for bacon maple cookies. That I was like, oh my God.
It's like, think of like
sweet and savory.
Yeah, like breakfast. Yeah. When you've got the bacon and the maple syrup on the plate and it all kind of runs together, right?
Yeah.
I do this for Christmas with a brie cheese. I cook up bacon, onions, and then I added maple syrup and I thicken it and then I plop it on top of a brie cheese that's been scored. Put it in the oven and do the baked brie thing.
You can just put your bacon jam.
Now I can just put bacon jam on it.
Your brie.
So with the bacon jam, what is the consistency that when you have bought that from the store and what color is it?
It's brown, very thick.
Does it have chunks of bacon
in
it then? And onions? Okay.
So it's not like a white bacon fat kind of
no.
color. Okay. Ooh, exciting.
Yeah, it's like dark, like caramelized onions can get quite dark. And I think like balsamic, caramelized onions, bacon, it's all quite a dark, like, and it's thick enough that you could like spoon it on your burger and it's not going to run off.
Okay.
It's like a relish kind of almost. Yeah.
No, it sounds
I don't know if I can contain my excitement for this. Like,
you look a little like in shock.
You ever have that feeling like you've been missing out on something your whole life and then you find out what it is?
It
was bacon jam.
My whole life.
It's been bacon jam. I didn't know about this.
So now I thought, I can't just make you jam and give you a spoon. I mean, I could because it's that tasty. But I decided I'm going to make something to put it on, and that is a fried chicken sandwich.
Woohoo! Now, you're speaking my language.
Oh my God.
Okay.
This part of it is causing me a little bit of anxiety, only because I've never actually fried chicken. And for a sandwich, you're not frying chicken on the bone. You're frying a boneless piece of chicken. Mm-hmm. And I want to try, even though I've never eaten Korean fried chicken, I want to try, because I keep hearing about Korean fried chicken. I want to try to do it that way in order to get it super crispy.
You've never tried it? I thought you've tried it. You've never tried it?
I've never had it. I feel like I've eaten it in my dreams.
Yes. That's exactly how it tastes like. That's exactly how it tastes like.
Sarah shared with me a recipe. I don't actually know where it's from. I think it's from a book.
Yeah.
That's okay. We can mention it in the second half if I use it. And then I've also seen instructions. You know the website Serious Eats?
Yeah.
They often have like very detailed instructions, the science behind things, really helpful stuff.
Well, it's serious.
Yeah, it is serious, but I always find them really helpful because they're very detailed, and they talk about, I tried this and it didn't quite work, so I did that. And what you could do is this. And then one of the suggestions in this to get a very crispy piece of chicken is to fry it once, freeze it for 2 hours, fry it again the second time.
I like that.
Also recommended brining the chicken in either kimchi or pickle juice to get that extra salty moisture in the meat.
Now, when you say kimchi, when they say brining it in kimchi, then would you sort of blend the kimchi up to make...
I don't actually know.
Oh, they didn't say anything about it?
You know the dog in The Grinch when he's like on the back of the sled and he's like,
Shrugging.
That was Heather's face with the little arms up going, I don't know.
I wondered about that too, Sarah, because it's not a liquid. Kimchi is not a liquid. So
it's like a sauerkraut.
I would call it more of a marinade than a brine.
I have another brine that I really love as well for chicken, but I'm going to have to make a decision. This is the thing that always gets me at this first part of the episode is that I haven't decided. I have to choose something and I got to commit. And then
I just dumped out a jar of pickle juice. I really considered keeping it. I was like, should I just keep this jar of pickle juice in my fridge? Next time, the answer to that is yes.
I've heard about chicken with pickle juice, but I didn't honestly think about what you do with it. I didn't know that it was a brine method. Like, I was like, what the heck are you doing with that liquid? Are you boiling your chicken? Like, what are you doing with it?
Right. So you're just letting it sit in it.
I will, on the second half, I will tell you whatever it is I decide to do. Exactly.
I love that tip about frying it and then freezing it for 2 hours, because you can just freeze it for longer, right? And then whenever you want to serve this burger, you just fry it up again.
You're halfway there.
You're halfway
More than
there.
halfway, because you've brined and you've fried it once. All you got to do is one more dip and fry, right?
Oh, I love this idea. Okay.
Can you leave it in your freezer for longer than 2 hours? Or
why not?
Yeah, or are you trying to not totally freeze the chicken?
But even if you defrosted it a little bit, like in your fridge, if it was too hard or whatever, still by this time that
I'm interested to see what they say about that, because it could make it too soggy if you let it sit out.
Oh,
right?
I see.
You know, if you totally freeze that chicken, you might have some moisture issues. I don't know. Questions that Heather will answer, because she's gonna make this so good.
I'm gonna figure that out. And we're going to have fried chicken sandwiches with bacon jam.
Woo-hoo!
Oh my God.
This sounds so good.
Bacon jam sounds like a slippery slope. And I've got my toboggan ready.
It's another one of those things that Erin's going to say is a kitchen staple, staple in her kitchen. And then pretty soon you're not going to have room for anything else but all the lemons and the ube jam and the... all the things that you
know how your door is always full of condiments?
Yeah.
This is why. Because all of those things become things that you can't live without. You're welcome from 3 Kitchens.
We're here for you. We've got all the things.
We've got all the zhuzh.
Wish me luck, everybody. Good thoughts for part 2.
Keep a lid nearby when you're cooking with oil.
And an oven mitt.
And your oven mitts.
Right.
All the safety stuff that we've learned.
Right.
And no long sleeves.
Never mind. Yeah. I don't need to talk about the time I set myself on fire.
No, we don't have to talk about that.
With Pod Power, our sponsors are making it possible for us to amplify the voices of Albertans and Alberta podcasters. This episode, Edmonton Community Foundation is helping us give a Pod Power shout out to CJSR presents High Level Hip Hop.
It's a deep dive into Edmonton's hip hop scene and the artists helping shape it. The show takes a unique approach to introducing listeners to the OGs and young bloods of Edmonton's hip hop scene. The show is aimed at those who love local music but might not have had a chance to fall in love with the city's surprisingly diverse hip-hop scene.
Each episode features an interview with a local artist, plus a fresh track they recorded at CJSR. Check out episodes with Arlo Maverick, Please Be Nice, and more throughout the season. High Level Hip Hop is produced by CJSR, Edmonton's campus and community radio station. Download it wherever you find podcasts and at highlevelhiphop.transistor.fm. Okay. Should we talk about chicken sandwiches and bacon jam?
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
I think so.
Let's get into it. Let's first talk about bacon jam because that's where I started. And if you want to make this, you need to make that in advance.
Right.
Okay. So there are lots of recipes. They're all kind of the same. Some have different seasoning. Some have whiskey. Some don't. So I ended up on thekitchen.com, kitchn.com, and it is a recipe, but what you're looking for is how to make Boozy bacon jam. That's the actual blog post they've got there. It's more of a tutorial than, it is a recipe, but I think they're more talking about how to make it. And so you can kind of make it the way you want to make it, I'd say. So what I did, I followed theirs, which was a pound of bacon cut into 1-inch pieces. You're going to slowly crisp that on medium heat and then remove it from the pot. So you're doing that first.
Okay.
Leave about 2 tablespoons of fat. I did not measure it. I just got some of the fat out, left some in.
Okay.
I wouldn't worry about it too much. You're going to slice up 1 large onion, cut it in half and then slice it. Add that to your bacon fat on low heat and caramelize. So when you caramelize an onion, you kind of stir it frequently and keep an eye on it so they don't get too dark.
Okay.
You don't want them crispy. You want them soft and caramelized. Then deglaze your pan. Oh, and in my notes, I forgot to write the amounts of bourbon and balsamic. I think it was about half a cup of bourbon to deglaze a pan, a splash of balsamic vinegar.
Okay.
I wouldn't worry too much about your amount there. Kind of deglaze your pan, add some black pepper. Again, I didn't measure it. I think they said a tablespoon or something, but I think you can just kind of put some pepper in there. You know me. Kind of throwing some stuff in there.
Right.
Yep. But go to the website if you want like very specific. We'll link to it. Okay. Now in their instructions, they don't say when to add the bacon back in. And at one point I was like, when do I add the bacon? So after I deglazed it, I put the bacon back in. I assume that's when you want to do it.
Okay.
And then you're simmering it for a few minutes until it gets kind of thick and jammy.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Then take it out, put it in your food processor and pulse it a few times just to kind of
break it up.
You want it to be spreadable, but chunky.
Okay. Okay.
And I think you can kind of do it to the way you think you want it to be.
Yeah.
Right.
Thick cut bacon is always going to be, there's chewy bacon bits in there. You're not going to get like, it's not a true
you want.
Jam. Yeah. You want, they call it jam, but it's more like, I don't even know how, like a chutney almost, like it's more of a thicker, chunkier
bacon salsa
thing.
Like a salsa.
Yeah, exactly. So don't worry if it doesn't look like what you think jam should look like, because you're going to have those chunky bacon. You want that chewy bacon in there.
Right.
Okay, so then you can put it in the fridge for up to a month, but warm it a little bit before you serve it.
Okay.
Because the way the fat solidifies,
right,
a little chunkier than you want, I think, if it was too cold. All right, so that's your bacon jam. Do we want to talk about whether you liked it now, or do you want to wait until? No,
wait till
the whole thing. Okay.
Sarah can't wait to hear about this frying business, I think. She's at the edge of her seat. Like, keep going. Keep going.
Talk about the chicken. Okay. Okay. So again, I was looking at multiple sources. I was reading all kinds of things about how to fry in sort of the Korean style fried chicken. Some of them say to fry it twice. Some of them don't mention frying it twice. Some say to freeze it in between frying it twice. Some don't. I don't know. It's like,
right.
There's
and
a lot.
This was also because you wanted to make something that complemented the bacon jam, right?
Yes. Yeah. So I wanted something to serve it on. And so what I did was I followed a couple different things.
Okay.
On SeriousEats.com, there is a recipe called Kenji's Kimchi Brined Fried Chicken Sandwich. I kind of adapted my brine from this recipe brine. So we can put it in the show description the way I did it, or you can just, use this as your guide and make it the way you want. So here's what I ended up doing. A cup of buttermilk, half a cup of pickle juice, 1 egg, roughly 3 garlic cloves smashed, 1.5 teaspoons kosher salt, a tablespoon of soy sauce, 3 tablespoons of sweet chili sauce, and black pepper. I didn't measure, but again, sprinkle it on in there. And I brined my chicken thighs, boneless, skinless chicken thighs. My plan was overnight, and I ended up, they were in there for like 48 hours.
Okay.
It became 2 days because I did it the next day. I was going to make them Friday, and then I was like, Friday kind of got away from me. I was like,
and it was windy out. It was
crazy
windy.
Yeah. And I didn't want to fry outside that day. So they ended up sitting in there until Saturday morning. I don't know if it makes any difference at all. I have no idea. But anyway, that's what I did. Then some of the recipes say to dredge, like, a dry flour cornstarch thing. Some of them you make kind of a batter to dip the chicken in and then fry it. So I followed the batter from the recipe Sarah sent me. It's called Koreatown Fried Chicken.
The cookbook is called Koreatown, and it's by Dookie Hong and Matt Rodbird.
Okay, there you go. So we'll link to it if we can, and if we can't, we'll just type out in the notes, because it's a short little recipe for the batter that you dip the chicken in.
Okay.
And that is half a cup of cornstarch, half a cup of flour, half a teaspoon of baking powder, a teaspoon of kosher salt, half a cup of vodka or soju, and half a cup of ice water.
Okay.
So I used vodka because that's what I always got vodka on hand, and the rest of it I followed. So
it was like a 1 for the batter, 1, 2 for me sort of deal.
I didn't drink while frying in hot oil. I would just like to say
that's probably a safer way to do it. Yeah.
Yes, I think that would have been dangerous. And then I had my setup on the barbecue outside. I had my hot plate, my electric hot plate with the barbecue open. It was all sitting in there and everything all set up. And my husband walked by and went, "Well, that looks dangerous." I was like, glad I had my oven mitts and my lid nearby. But I will tell you, it was difficult to maintain temperature of the oil outside.
Right.
Oh, right. Yeah.
It was kind of cool. It wasn't it wasn't super windy. It wasn't cold, but it was kind of a cool day, and it made it really difficult to maintain the temperature of that oil. So I did my first fry outside. I did the second in the house.
Oh, you did? Okay.
It was just way easier to maintain the temperature on my gas stove inside, where I'm used to cooking. That's what I did. Fry it where you want, I say. First fry, you've got it out of your brine, kind of let it, drip off, and then put it into the kind of batter, which is really thin. It's not like it's sticking to it. Right. It's kind of, it looks like, well, is this going to do anything?
It just coats it lightly almost.
Yeah. It's like a light coating on it. And then you're frying it. The instructions, I think, say about 2 minutes per side, kind of flip it over. I just kind of went by color, honestly. It was like, you want it to be very lightly browned the first time around. And I took pictures so you can see, we can post the pictures where we've got the first fry and the second fry. You can see it's quite a bit darker the second time.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So you're frying it till it's lightly brown, taking it out, putting it on a rack, like a wire rack to drip off. And then once it's cooled, I just covered the entire thing with foil and put it in my freezer for the 2 hours.
Okay.
Then I did the second fry, like I said, in the house. I used the same oil. I had just put the lid on and saved it and used it again, which I think also contributes to the dark color the second time around, because if your oil's a little bit darker now. By the time I got to the piece I used for my photo, that piece of chicken looks quite dark in our photos because I think it was like the last piece I fried. I was like, wow, it looks so much darker. And I fried it till I thought it looked good. Then I took it out. I used my internal meat thermometer and checked the internal temperature to make sure it was, I think it's 165 is what chicken is supposed to be, if I'm remembering right. My thermometer has a handy little picture of a chicken I can just choose.
Oh, cute. Oh, nice.
So I know I've hit the right thing, but it's quick.
It's quick, right?
It's quick. And a thigh is quite thin. You're not looking at like a big, thick chicken breast, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
So they cook up pretty quick.
Can I ask, you don't re-batter it when you double fry it? It's just frying the same batter again.
You just fry it again.
And did the chicken breasts or the chicken pieces freeze all the way through?
I would say no.
Okay. Those were my two questions.
Yeah, they were not like, like a solid frozen piece of meat. They were just very cold. Okay, so I put it on a bun with the bacon jam, and there was a pickle.
Very important pickle.
One little secret ingredient. I'm waiting to hear if you guys detected it. So let's hear what you thought of your chicken sandwich.
All right, let me get my opinions out of the way. It's not really an opinion. My dad had this friend from Japan who shared his philosophy about trying food for the first time. You always have to try it twice to make sure that you like it or dislike it. So I think you should make this again for me.
Really? It's because you don't know if you liked it?
Oh, I loved it. I loved it. Everything about it. That bacon jam. Wow. Love the bourbon in it. I really like eating anything made with bourbon. Like it's really become like a staple in the pantry.
It's become our thing.
It's the cooking accessory that we all need all of a sudden.
Yeah. I just wish my husband would stop drinking the bourbon.
I keep drinking it now. I can drink. Look what's happened to us.
And the chicken was beautiful. And so you're asking me about the secret ingredient. Now I wish I looked at it better, but there was mayo in it, right? And was it with salted lemons? Yeah. I really, really enjoyed this burger, and I took my time to eat it and savor it because I knew I was just getting one, and I just got one listener, just one. And it was just comfort.
I only had one as well. So it's not like I ate all the burgers and only gave you one.
She drank all the vodka and all the bourbon and ate all the burgers.
It was a good night. Really good night.
Good Heather's still alive this morning.
Yep.
I wonder if you could just, as I said before, just freeze this and then take it out for a party or something and then refry it at that point and serve these burgers to your guests, because
I believe you can. And here's why. Before we get to Erin, I'll quickly just tell you, my husband wasn't able to eat the chicken on the day that we were eating the chicken. So I kept 2 thighs. When I took the rest out of the freezer, I just wrapped those ones in foil and just left them in the freezer.
Okay.
Yeah.
And by the time he was able to eat the chicken, it was frozen solid for sure.
Okay.
And I don't know. I didn't know. I'm like, should I let them sit out? Should they warm up? What should I do? And I was like, I told him it's kind of an experiment. We're just going to go with it. I put them right into the oil cold, like right from the freezer.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I went by color. I checked the internal temperature. They warmed up super quick in the oil.
Okay.
And cooked, and he was like, is there more? Where's more?
That's how I felt. Yeah.
So they were good, even though they were frozen longer. I mean, it was only like an extra day. I'm not really sure if you left them in there for like a few weeks and then wanted to fry them, how they would be.
Right.
But they were fully frozen and they were still
awesome. Okay.
Yummy.
That's great to know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Erin, it's your turn.
She looks like she doesn't know what to say.
I don't even know what to say. I'm a little bit disappointed in myself. I didn't get around. I bought a brie cheese and I was just going to dump your bacon jam on top and bake it up and make a baked brie.
Yum.
I haven't done that yet. So I feel like I have this treat waiting for me and I'm so excited about it.
What a great idea. Yeah.
Yeah, because I gave you a little extra jam. I didn't want you to have to try to pick it out of the sandwich just in case you wanted to like have it just on its own.
Just in
Very
case.
good idea. Very
Because we
good idea.
might, of course.
Or maybe you just wanted an extra little bit of jam to eat with a spoon, because that's not unusual.
No, that's what I did.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
I know. It took a lot of self-discipline to get to the point where I have brie and jam waiting for me.
Right,
I haven't eaten it yet.
Oh, that sounds
amazing.
So
I am shocked that the jam didn't have maple syrup in it because tasted sweet, and I don't know. I think
Maybe
it was
it's
just
the
the
bourbon.
bourbon in there.
Mhm.
I think that's what it was. But yeah, with that chicken, so good. And my chicken came to me hot and fresh. Heather came and it was still warm in the package, and I was like, well, it's really nice to see you, but I'm gonna go eat this now.
Yeah, she kind of grabbed it and ran away.
I was like, hi,
Get out.
thanks, bye.
Bye.
Yeah, no, that was delicious. That was really, I don't think I've ever had a fried chicken like that before.
It was really moist.
It was so juicy.
Yes, the meat was really moist.
Yeah.
And the outside was really crispy and light, which is what Korean batter is. Like it's that.
Yeah, it's not super thick.
It's not like a crunchy, there's no breading on it, you know?
No.
It's like, it sort of just crisps the outside of the meat.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, I thought it was so interesting.
It's like adding a skin to it that you've crisped up.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great way of describing it, Erin.
I'm thinking of it in akin to the chicken skins that Heather and I ate. And it's that crispy, thin tastiness.
Mm-hmm.
So good. So good. How much oil did it take to do?
I think the recipe in the book said like 8 cups or something. I didn't measure it, of course. I did just enough to like almost cover the chicken.
Okay.
And I flipped it.
Yeah.
It wasn't quite enough to totally submerge the chicken. It was close. It was bubbling around the chicken, and then I just flipped it over.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome then. You don't have to have like a giant vat of hot oil. So okay.
You could probably just do it in a shallow pan or a wok and just kind of turn it over.
So cool.
You had told us about how you could puree your salted lemons if they're looking like they're kind of heading south in your fridge.
Right.
So I had like an extra half a lemon or something in the bottom of a jar, and I threw that in my Ninja and pureed that up and put them in ice cube trays. And that day I was like, in the morning, I was flipping out. I had other ice cube trays where I had chicken broth, because I always put my chicken broth and make it into cubes, and I was popping them out into bags. And I get to this one tray and I'm like, this broth looks really weird. It's like so opaque. Like, why? Like, what is this weird yellow broth?
Right.
And I smelled it and I'm like, oh no, this is not chicken broth. This is lemons. Oh,
right.
The smell, like I don't know what it does by pureeing it and freezing it, but holy cow, that smelled like the best thing I've ever smelled.
Oh, you think like, it smelled more intense almost?
Yeah, sweeter. Okay. Lemony. It smelled like lemon pie. Like it was just, oh my God. So then I was like, well, I took a couple of the cubes, put them in a bowl and just left them sitting on my counter. So I'm like, I'm going to do something with, I don't know what to do with that, but I want to eat it. Like it smelled so good. And then when I was making the sandwiches, it was sitting there and I was like, So I just mixed a little mayo with a little lemon, probably 50-50, and then just put a very little bit on the sandwich. I wasn't sure what it was kind of going to do to this. So I didn't want to do too much. Yeah, because I wanted the bacon to be the star, but
it was really good. Great. I mean, the mayo has to go with that chicken and the bacon. It has to. Like, I think that's a really good condiment. And yeah, great idea with the salted lemons. That's what I do for my potato salad. I put mayo and salted lemons in it.
Well, try pureeing it and see what you think.
Yeah.
And the pickle on there was super good too. I'm the kind of person that I need to have a pickle on every sandwich that
I like pickles on sandwiches too.
Yeah, I always feel like it's missing if there's not something, especially with something that rich. And...
a little like coleslaw would have been good on there too.
Ooh, yeah.
Even with the bacon. I wasn't sure.
Mixed in with the mayo and the salted lemons. Totally.
Yeah. I didn't know I didn't want to go to put too much stuff on there with the bacon jam because I wasn't sure how it would all go. But now that we've eaten it, I think you could, if you like creamy coleslaw on your chicken sandwich, I think it would go with the bacon jam.
Heather, I did want to ask, so how much bacon jam did you end up making from that recipe?
Oh, I think I ended up with about not quite 2 cups of jam.
Okay.
Okay, and that was a pound of bacon?
Yeah, so it actually cooks down quite a bit.
Okay.
I felt like you probably could do more onion.
Okay, yeah.
It only had 1 onion.
Okay.
I think you could probably double the amount of onion and just make it good. Like you could make it go a little farther.
Yeah.
Right. No, I think this is like, I mean, summer's coming, burger season. This is like a must on your burgers. Like it doesn't even have to be a chicken burger. It could be any burger.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But if you're making the chicken burgers again, make 1 extra for me, please.
My husband was like, how often can we eat these? Like, are they super bad for are you clogging my arteries?
No.
Eat these like every week. Because this is so good. But I'll definitely be making this again. And I totally want to experiment with the chicken. And like Korean chicken then usually has a sauce, like a Korean.
Right. Yes. Ooh, very delicious sauce.
So I want to make it again with some of those sauces and
great idea.
And different spices in the batter for the chicken.
Yeah.
Like there's so many different ways that people do it. I got kind of overwhelmed by all the different recipes.
Sure. Yeah.
So there's lots more that I'd like to try because I thought it was just super tasty.
Yeah.
I'm glad you liked it.
Oh, loved it. I didn't say I liked it. Loved it. It's so good. Okay, add this to a must do in the summer for sure.
Just to give you more cravings. That's what we're here for. We're here to
inspire
all the cravings.
Inspire your summer body. It's never going to happen on this podcast, but you will be well fed.
Happy tummy, happy life.
That's right.
Yeah. Who needs to fit into a bikini?
No.
That's why they make bikinis in different sizes.
That's why they're called one-piece suits.
And now for the fine print. We at Three Kitchens gratefully acknowledge we are telling these stories in the traditional territories of the Treaty 7 nations in southern Alberta and the Métis Nation of Alberta, Region 3. We honor the rich tradition of oral storytellers on this land who have come before us. You can find pictures and recipe links on Instagram and Facebook at Three Kitchens Podcast. If you like and subscribe on your podcast player, that helps more people find us.
Best crispy chicken sandwich I've ever had, but I haven't had too many crispy chicken sandwiches, so best sandwich I've ever had.